Hi there, I'm Adrian and today I'm in gear mode and I'm going to be talking about building a mini pedal board. Now the idea I had was to put together a super compact pedal setup that I could use whilst practicing, while teaching, whilst making my videos, and also for playing gigs as well, where I need to get there on the tube or by public transport, and it's a real hassle to take my other pedal board, which is really heavy and comes in a massive flight case. So I thought a mini pedal board setup would fit the bill there. And the original idea was just to restrict myself to 3 or 4 essential pedals, but obviously I couldn't stop at just that, and now I've accumulated enough mini pedals to fill every last square inch of space on this board. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to take you through the process of building the board. I'm going to talk about the pedals that I've chosen, why I've chosen them, and then I'm going to give you a quick demo of some of the sounds. So here's a pedal board, here are some pedals, let's pedal board. So the board itself then is a Pedal Train Metro 16. I've had quite a few Pedal Train pedal boards over the years, always found them to be straightforward, sturdy, just do the job really well. And I went for this size pedal board. They do a couple of even smaller pedal boards than this, but I think for my purposes those would probably be too small to fit on the essential pedals that I need. So this kind of size seemed about right for this project. And the first thing I'm going to do is attach the power supply. Now my original plan was to use this power supply here, which is an old Voodoo Lab pedal power, the original pedal power, which I've had for many years, but I fired it up a few weeks ago and discovered that a couple of the outputs were broken, so I had to ditch that idea and go out and buy a new power supply. This is the latest Pedal Power 2 Plus. Not a cheap power supply, but in my opinion one of the best power supplies. I did consider a few other options. You could kind of go down the daisy chain route, or you've got kind of rechargeable power supplies, or various slightly smaller options, but in the end this seemed like the best option, I think. I remember what it was like before Voodoo Lab power supplies came along. It was a real hassle to power your pedals without all kinds of voltage issues and hums and buzzes, but this seems to have sorted all these things out, and I wanted to go with something nice and dependable on this pedal board. Actually turns out to be the heaviest and bulkiest thing on the board, I think, so I'm just going to position it up in the top left here, out of the way of any of the pedals. What I'm going to do to start with, I'm just going to get everything roughly positioned on the board so that I can see that everything's working before I attach everything properly and wire it all in. Onto the pedals themselves then, and first up is the tuner, and I've gone for a TC Electronic Polytune 2. And it's hard, I suppose, to get too excited about guitar tuners, but as guitar tuners go, I think this is a good one. It's got a nice clear display, seems to get me in tune nice and accurately, so that's what I've gone for my tuner. Next up then are drive pedals, and I find it quite hard to survive a gig without a few drive options, and I've actually got 3 drive pedals I want to put on this board. And first up is a fuzz pedal, and I've gone for this JHS Mini Foot Fuzz, and I think this is probably the best looking pedal I've got on my board. I like that kind of fetching purple and green color scheme and the foot graphic on the pedal. I think it's a really cool looking pedal. As far as the sound goes, it's just a really nice classic sounding fuzz, nice and warm and full. If you back the fuzz control off, you've got that slightly kind of scratchy fuzz sound. Crank up the fuzz and you get a really saturated full fuzz sound, so it's a really good one, that. And after the fuzz, I'm going to need some kind of overdrive, and along with everyone else these days it seems, I'm a fan of these Klon style overdrives. This is a Wampler Tumnus, and it's a clone of the Klon Centaur overdrive. Really natural, great sounding overdrive pedal. And next I've got a distortion pedal, and what I've gone for is a Mooer Black Secret pedal. Now I've got a mixture of pedals on this board. Some of them are quite pricey, others like this one are cheaper pedals. Some of them are new, some of them I found off eBay, but I'm a big fan of these Mooer pedals. They're really affordable and they sound really good. And the Black Secret is a clone of a Rat pedal. I've always liked the Rat style of distortion. I've got a 90s Rat on my other pedal board, and this is just a copy of the Rat circuit, I think. And in fact it's like 2 Rats in one, because this switch here means that you can switch between a vintage Rat sounding pedal and then you've got the Turbo Rat, which has got a slightly different flavour of distortion and quite a bit more gain on the pedal as well. So that's a really nice sounding distortion pedal for not much money. Next I've got another Mooer pedal actually, and it's a tremolo pedal, the Mooer Trelicopter. And incidentally, as far as pedal order goes on this board, I've just kept things fairly conventional. I'm going from tuner through drive pedals, then modulation, and then as you see I've got delay and reverb as well. So I'm not trying out any wacky or creative ordering of pedals on this particular board, although I do enjoy that kind of thing, but it's probably something that I think is best left to the studio or where you've got some kind of pedal switching system. For this board I'm just keeping things very simple. So yeah, this pedal, tremolo pedal, again a really good and affordable pedal from Mooer. You can just adjust the speed of the tremolo with this knob here. It's got a depth control as well, which I think adjusts the intensity of the tremolo effect, and a bias control here. I'm not sure exactly what that does. From the tremolo I'm going into a delay pedal, and I've got a Ibanez analog delay mini. Again, this is a great classic sounding warm analog delay pedal, and I think the circuitry inside is identical to the circuitry in the classic Ibanez delays of the 80s, and that's one of the things you get with mini pedals these days, is that you're not sort of accepting any compromise in terms of sound by going down to this mini format. I think the circuitry inside all of these pedals is identical to the circuitry in the bigger pedals, and they sound just as good as the bigger pedals, I think. So this mini delay is a good case in point. So it's got that really warm analog delay sound. Got all the sort of controls you need there to control it. Just you've got the repeats there, and then you can blend in as much or as little of the delay as you want. And from there I'm going into a reverb pedal, and for that I've got another TC electronic pedal. This is the Hall of Fame Mini, another really good sounding pedal, and it's one of these tone print pedals which has got all of this futuristic technology whereby you can beam in famous guitar players' sounds from your mobile phone. So not that I've really tried out any of that stuff yet. At the moment I've just got it set with the factory kind of hall reverb, which sounds really good to me. But if I wanted to, I could beam Steve Vai's reverb into that pedal, which sounds like quite a lot of fun. I might have to try that later. So I've just got a tiny bit of space left on the board, and there I'm going to put my loop pedal, which is another TC electronic pedal. This is just the basic model Ditto looper, and I use this pedal more in practice than I would during a gig, and in practice I'll use it just to make a simple loop or a backing track, and for those purposes I think this very simple looper is perfect. If I were more into creating ambient soundscapes and doing crazy stuff, then I might need something a bit more sophisticated, but for just simple loops this pedal is just right. So that's all of the pedals roughly in position, and already it's looking pretty cute, I think you'll agree. And just to recap then the order of the pedals, I'm going from the tuner, then I've got the fuzz, then the overdrive, distortion, tremolo, and from that I'm actually going up to the delay, then I'll have the reverb, and then the looper on the end. And the reason for laying them out like this is I did want my looper at the front of the board, just because that's something I'm going to need to get my foot to fairly regularly. Pedals I'm using less, the delay and the reverb, I can just have at the back of the board where I don't need to be stomping on them quite so often. Next step is to get the power to the pedals, and I think that should be fairly straightforward. The Voodoo Lab power supply comes with a load of these barrel power connectors, so I just need to connect those to the power supply and then the other end to the pedals. All of the pedals I think are powered the same way. They're all 9-volt pedals with the same size connectors, so that should be quite a straightforward process. I'm just going to make sure that I run the cables underneath the board just to keep everything nice and tidy there. And once that's done, I'm actually going to put the cable between the actual pedals themselves. And for that I'm going to be using George L's cable. This is just the kind of cable that I've always used on my pedal boards. I like it because it's the cable you can cut yourself to exactly the right length, and then you attach these connectors, and you don't need to do any soldering or anything like that. You just sort of push the connector onto the end of the cable, screw in the little cap, and the cables are ready to go. So let me get on with that. So here we go, just about there now, and it wasn't quite as quick or as straightforward a process as I'd hoped, but these things rarely are. I find a couple of minor issues I ran into. You'll notice that the Trelicopter is now relegated to the back row of the pedal board. I was hoping to position it here, but the Mooer pedals seem to be a bit longer than the other pedals, and they've got the power connector on the end, so it wouldn't sit there without jutting out over the edge of the board. So what I've done is moved the Trelicopter to the back, moved the Reverb up here. I've kept the order of the pedals exactly the same though, so that the signal is running from the Black Secret now through to the Trelicopter underneath the board, then the delay, then back to the Reverb and out through the looper. Other minor annoyance was the positioning of the Black Secret pedal, which you can see is a little bit back from the other pedals, and that was again just due to space issues and the fact that the jack socket on the Tumnus and the Black Secret are exactly opposite one another, so I couldn't have them all straight without running out of room on the board. So as I say, a minor annoyance. I will learn to live with it, I'm sure. So all that remains for me to do now then is to plug it in, fire everything up, and I'll just give you a quick demo of a few of the sounds here. I'm not going to do a full demo of all of these pedals, but I'll just give you a quick idea of what these things sound like. So the good news is the pedal board appears to be functioning properly, and I've just got a basic clean sound set up here. All the pedals are bypassed at the moment, and I should say that I'm using my Jazzmaster guitar here through my usual amp, which is an 80s Fender Super Champ, and I'm just going to tune up and then I'll take you through some sounds. So as I said, nothing terribly exciting about a guitar tuner, but I think this is a good one. The display is nice and clear, it's nice and stable when you're trying to tune, and it does a good job. So what I'm going to do is just take you through each of these pedals briefly. I'm going to go from right to left. So let's start with the Fuzz pedal, which is the JHS Mini Foot Fuzz. Let's check out what that sounds like. So we're straight into that kind of classic 60s fuzz territory here. Makes me want to play this. You can see that the fuzz control is set quite low at the moment, so you've got that quite thin, spitty, low gain kind of a fuzz. But let me just take the fuzz control up a bit further, and you'll hear that the fuzz kind of smooths out a little bit. You've got more sustain. It's got that quite nice singing, tone benderish kind of a fuzz sound, I think. Mick Ronson kind of tones there, and kind of thing. So it's a great sounding fuzz pedal, that one, I think. Next in line we've got the Tumnus. This is a overdrive pedal, and based on the Klon Centaur, as I said, which these kind of pedals seem to be everybody's favourite overdrive sounds at the moment, myself included, just because it just seems to be the most natural, the most responsive and expressive overdrive sound. These type of pedals are really good at maintaining the basic sound of your guitar and amp, allowing that through whilst just adding a little bit of extra drive. Before I got into these type of pedals, I always used tube screamers, which I still love, but I always found with tube screamers it was a bit more of a battle to get a decent tone. They're quite particular about what amps you use and what guitars you use, and you just have to take a bit more care dialing them in. Whereas with the Tumnus, I think it's quite hard to get a bad sound, really. And let me just... This is with the gain on quite low, and it's become for me one of these kind of always on pedals. Even when I'm going for a clean sound, I'll quite often have this pedal engaged, and it just seems to warm things up slightly, even on a clean tone. So it's with the pedal off, it sounds like this, and then with the Tumnus, just adds a little bit of warmth and mid-range, I think. Take the gain up, and we lovely kind of chiming rock kind of sounds, that amp on the edge of breakup kind of sounds, and then you can go further. There's quite a lot of gain left in the final quarter of this control's range actually. So that's the Tumnus. Next up we've got much more of a full-on distortion pedal. This is the Black Secret Rat clone, and that sounds like this. Big fan of this style of distortion. It's even got the Rat style filter control, which I really like. It's kind of tone control, which you can just use to roll off any harsh high frequencies there. And it's also got the 2 modes, so I can just put it into turbo Rat mode as well. Gives you quite a massive leap in volume actually, and it's also a slightly different flavour of distortion. So that's the Black Secret. From there we're going kind of underneath the board into the tremolo pedal. This is the Mooer Trelicopter, and that sounds like this. So really nice sounding tremolo pedal, this one. I think it compares really well to the much more expensive tremolo pedal which I've got on my other board, which is a full tone Super Champ. I think that the tones are pretty comparable on those 2 pedals. I think the Super Champ probably has a little bit more versatility, and you've got a bit more control over the sound, but really do like this Trelicopter. So I just increase the speed and the depth a little bit. Again, it's got this mysterious bias control, not quite sure what that does. Maybe changes the shape of the waveform somehow, but let's see what that sounds like with the Tumnus. Very nice. So what else have we got left? Yeah, let's go to the delay. This is the Ibanez analog delay. It's got that nice kind of analog delay flavour. Here I've just got it set for a single kind of rockabilly style repeat. Really like those dark analog delay repeats, and of course it can do all of the usual stuff that a delay pedal can do, the more atmospheric things. That's the delay, and we've got some radio coming through my amp. That's probably from the vintage style fuzz pedal. Let me switch that off. Yeah, onto the reverb then. Hall of Fame Mini, and at the moment I've just got this set with the stock factory sound, which I think sounds really good. It's just a nice kind of lush hall reverb kind of a sound. So I've not got into all this tone print stuff, which I really should do at some point. But basically, what that means is you can change the reverb parameters and the type of reverb by kind of futuristically beaming it into the pedal from your mobile phone. So I really must try that sometime soon. So let's see what Tremolo and the Hall of Fame sound like together. Maybe a bit of Tumnus as well. Yeah, really nice kind of atmospheric sounds there. So, so that's about it really. Then you've just got the looper there, which doesn't really need much of a demo actually. It loops nice and simple. You know, if you're not doing kind of atmospheric soundscape stuff, I just like the simplicity of this pedal. Just hit it once to record, hit it again to stop the loop. So I think that's about it for this video. I hope you've enjoyed watching, and do check out my website where I've got many more guitar related videos. And yeah, just remains one thing for me to do, I suppose, which is to turn on all the pedals at once and see how that sounds. So here we go.